D'accord. Bien. Du coup, comme c'est moi qui vais partager, qui vais faire le partage d'écran, je vais couper la vidéo. Deux petites minutes et puis on va commencer à 19h40. Laissant le temps aux autres brailles de se joindre à nous. Est-ce que quand je défile l'écran, bien.
Il y avait un écho, on t'a pas entendu, tu disais?
Je demandais si vous voyez bien le défilement de l'écran. J'ai l'impression que ça ne défile pas en fait.
Ça n'a pas bougé depuis, hein. On voit le... Oui.
Ici. Okay. Ouais. Je ne sais pas comment faire pour mettre en diaporama. J'ai l'impression que quand je mets en diaporama, ça ne passe pas. Dernière tentative. Okay.
Ah, ça y est, c'est bon.
Bonsoir à toutes.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Confirmez-moi qu'il n'y a plus d'écho, que vous m'entendez bien.
Confirmez-moi qu'il n'y a plus d'écho, que vous m'entendez. Confirmez-moi qu'il n'y a plus d'écho, que vous m'entendez.
Il y a un écho.
Ouais, moi aussi, j'ai eu l'écho.
Ok. Je pense que là, ça doit être mieux. Vous m'entendez bien?
Oui, là,
Parfait.
c'est mieux.
D'accord. Bonsoir à toutes. Alors du coup, je ne vois pas qui est connecté vu que je présente et je n'arrive pas à me connecter avec mon téléphone non plus. Donc, Stéphanie, tu vas m'aider tout au long de la présentation.
D'accord.
Voilà. Donc, aujourd'hui, notre étude va porter sur Agar, qui est, bon, je ne vais pas dire la sainte patronne, mais qui est un peu le personnage biblique auquel on fait référence lorsqu'on parle des mamans célibataires. Et j'aurai l'honneur de co-animer cette session avec Stéphanie. Donc, comment est-ce que ça va se passer? On va commencer d'abord par la prière d'introduction, bien sûr, pour demander à l'Esprit Saint de prendre le contrôle de cet instant que nous allons passer ensemble. Ensuite, Stéphanie va nous accompagner dans l'étude biblique. Après l'étude biblique, nous allons discuter ensemble de comment se sentent les mamans célibataires. Ensuite, de quelles sont les promesses de Dieu pour ces mamans célibataires. Et bien sûr, on va vous laisser la parole et conclure en prière, prendre les sujets de prière pour les différentes mamans célibataires, pour la tribu d'Agar, afin qu'elle grandisse, afin qu'elle devienne une bénédiction pour tous les mamans célibataires, pour PrayingBrides et bien sûr pour toutes les personnes qui auront des sujets de prière aujourd'hui. Donc, sans plus attendre, je vais nous faire entrer en prière et puis je vais laisser la parole à Stéphanie. Éternel, notre Dieu, nous voulons te dire merci. Merci de nous avoir rassemblés aujourd'hui. Merci de nous avoir rassemblés aujourd'hui autour de ce thème, l'étude biblique sur Agar. Nous voulons demander à ton esprit de prendre le contrôle, Seigneur, de prendre le contrôle des animatrices, afin que non pas leur volonté, non pas leur pensée, non pas leur parole, mais ta parole et uniquement ta parole et uniquement ta volonté, Seigneur. Nous prions afin que tu prennes chacune de ces paroles et que tu la multiplies en autant de personnes qu'il y aura aujourd'hui. Nous prions aussi, Seigneur, pour toutes nos sœurs qui ne sont pas encore connectées, afin que tu libères leur agenda, afin qu'elles puissent se joindre à nous, Seigneur. Nous te prions de continuer ton œuvre au sein de PrayingBrides, au sein du ministère PrayingBrides. Nous te prions de continuer ton œuvre avec la tribu d'Agar, Seigneur, afin que tu la fasses grandir, que tu fasses sortir du pré tous les mamans célibataires qui ont peur ou qui n'osent pas encore rejoindre la tribu, quelle que soit la saison dans laquelle elles sont, Seigneur, afin que nous nous fortifions pour toujours être à ton service, pour toujours être des imitateurs de ton Fils Jésus-Christ, mort sur la croix pour nos péchés. Amen. Bon, je vais donner la parole. Amen.
Amen.
Je vais donner la parole maintenant à Stéphanie, qui va nous accompagner dans l'étude biblique. Nous avons choisi deux textes qui sont Genèse 16 et Genèse 21.
D'accord. Alors, je regarde un peu la liste des participants là, et je pense que peut-être ce serait mieux qu'on bascule vers l'anglais. La seule personne que je ne sais pas si elle comprend l'anglais, c'est Aurélie. Je crois que sinon les autres comprennent tous. Parce que si on parle en français, du coup, il y a Monique et Nissi qui ne vont pas suivre.
Ok. Bon, je vais faire de mon mieux
Ouais.
pour
En tout cas,
basculer
ouais.
dans ce
D'accord.
ouais. On y va alors.
Okay. So thank you very much for joining tonight. Okay, Nisi. We will start by asking for two volunteers, one to read the excerpt from Genesis 16 and another one to read the excerpt from Genesis 21, the story of Hagar. So is there anyone who wants to read Genesis 16 for us?
I can do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Please go ahead in whatever version you like.
Right.
One moment, sorry. So, 16, right?
Yes, Genesis 16.
All right. Um, I'm sorry, I'm just shifting to the English version since I'm not able to translate Bible. I'm sorry. Voilà. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, bare him no children. And she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai unto Abraham, behold now, Jehovah has restrained me from bearing. Go in, I pray thee, me from bearing. Go in, I pray thee, unto my handmaid. It may be that I shall obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian, her handmaid, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to Abraham, her husband, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she has conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai unto Abraham, my wrong be upon thee. I gave my handmaid into their bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, she was despised in her eyes. Jehovah judged between me and thee. But Abraham said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her that which is good in thine eyes. And Sarai dealt hardly with her, and she fled from her face. And the angel of Jehovah found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's handmaid, whence camest thou, and whither goest thou? And she said, I am fleeing from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of Jehovah said unto her, return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of Jehovah said unto her, I will greatly multiply thy seed, that I shall not be numbered, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of Jehovah said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and thou shalt call his name Ishmael, because Jehovah has heard thy affliction. And he shall be as a wild ass among men. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hands against him. He shall dwell over all his brethren. And she called the name of Jehovah that spake to her, thou art a God that seeth. For she said, have I ever looked after him that sees me? Therefore the well was called Beer Lahai Roy. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abraham a son, and Abraham called the name of his son, whom Hagar bare Ishmael. And Abraham was 86 old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abraham. That's it. That's the end of
You are muted,
the
Stephanie.
chapter.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Candice. So the next excerpt is from Genesis 21, and this time from verse 8, starting in verse 8. Is there anyone who wants to read? Verses 8 to 21.
I can read.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Genesis 21. 8. I'm coming from NIV. The child grew and was weaned, and on that day Isaac was weaned. Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar, the Egyptian, had bore to Abraham was mocking. And she said to Abraham, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share the inheritance with my son Isaac." The matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son, but God said to him, "Do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." Early in the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water of the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bowshot away, for she thought, "I cannot watch the boy die." And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying, and as he lies there, lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin of water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt.
Great.
Would you
Thank
say
you very much,
something?
Nisi.
Of course.
Yes. So those are the two passages in the Bible where the story of Hagar is told. So who was Hagar? As we heard, she was an Egyptian slave who Abraham and Sarah got when they went to Egypt. Actually, Hagar is not her name because Hagar means forsaken, or from the verb flee, it means to flee or to drag away. So this name Hagar is like, it's not her name. It's not the name she was born with. It's just like a title, or I don't know how you call this, just a name that they developed to call her, to say, okay, the the one we got when we were running away or something like this. She is the mother of Abraham's oldest son Ishmael, and through Ishmael, she's also a matriarch in many Arab tribes. And this you can find in the Bible as well, where it's mentioned. So she's revered in Islam and also in Christianity and also in Judaism. So as we heard in the story, she was just there living her life, her slave life. I mean, nobody asked to be a slave. She became a slave, got taken back to Canaan from Egypt, left her people, left everything. And the only time when she gets any form of importance is when Sarah is desperate for a child. And so basically Sarah looks around and is like, oh, this one, she looks like a walking womb. Let's use her. So, I mean, it was common practice back in the day. So we cannot really say that it was something wicked, but still, from Sarah's side, but still, if you look deeper, the fact that she took a foreign woman, and you know how the impact a mother can have on her kid, that the fact that you're taking a foreign woman to bear a son, you're not taking a Canaanite woman who knows about God. You're taking someone who is serving another God, and the proof is that at the end of in the chapter 21, we see that Hagar, she took also an Egyptian wife for her son. So it's not even like Sarah was not looking for someone who could give an offspring that would kind of like go in the direction of honoring God, honoring his covenant and whatever. No, it was just a decision where like, okay, this Hagar girl, anyway, we don't even call her by her name. She's just an object of reproduction. Let's take her. That would be my interpretation of this. Because if this was carefully thought out, she would have chosen probably someone who was accustomed to the Jewish or the Jewish way of life back then, and who knew about God and who knew about all the what God had taught Abraham. So her only importance comes when it's time now to conceive. And then we read that then there was some tension between her and Sarah. And we talked about this already in our Praying Bride tribe. Usually when we read the story of Hagar, we're like, yeah, she was rude to Sarah. She deserved it, good for her. But we have to look at the other side. Probably she underwent some form of abuse, right? Because I mean, nobody wants to be used as a surrogate against their will. Probably she underwent some form of abuse that pushed her also to start acting differently towards Sarah. But also, yeah, it makes sense that because she was now able to conceive, maybe pride got into her, and she started treating Sarah with contempt. So there's both sides. We have to look at Sarah's side and we have to look at Hagar's side. Probably it was also a response to trauma. So who is Hagar? It's an Egyptian slave who never gets called by her name, always gets called by this title, who her only importance comes up at the moment where she needs to help to conceive a child, and who probably suffered a form of trauma because of this and got sent into the desert by Sarah. And when she got sent into the desert, can you go to the next slide, Christy? That's when she encounters God. So, and the verse says that the angel called her by name in opposition to her previous experiences. The angel, it doesn't say what the name was, but probably if we are supposed to understand this literally, it means the angel called her by her real name. So it was a personal encounter with God, and the angel asked her, "Where are you coming from and where are you going?" She didn't answer about the "where are you going" part. She just focused on the "where are you coming from" part. But the question was talking about her past, her present, and her future, and she was just focused on the past, and this was a way of saying that she really has no vision for the future. She really doesn't know where she's going. And the angel saw into that, and then gave her the promise that we read about, that she's supposed to go back to Sarah, but she's not supposed to worry, because out of her son will come a great nation, and that God will multiply her descendants. So she had this personal encounter with God, where he told her to go back and give her a personal word. Going back, it may seem like an insensitive command, but the thing is, God was, as we can see, God was focused on her future. It was not about the past anymore. And also, she was not going back without a defense. Now she had a real promise. She had a covenant from God. She had something to stand on. So even if she was going back to a situation that was not favorable for her, at least God gave her a promise. So he didn't just push her back into this place where she had been abused. He gave her something to hold on to when she would go back. Next slide, please, Kristen. And it's really important, the fact that Hagar that God talked to Hagar and gave her a covenant. Because until then, we only see men getting covenants. Abraham, Noah, not a woman. And then all of a sudden we see Hagar, not a patriarch, nothing, a slave, getting a covenant from God. And this is really huge because it meant God really cared for her. God reached out to her, found her, knew exactly where to find her, knew exactly what her problem was, and knew exactly how to supply according to his riches in glory. Because he gave her a lot more than she could ever ask for. Like he could just have given the boy water and being like, okay, here's water, here's some food, bye, go back. Yeah. But he gave her a promise that was going from generation to generation. So it was really huge that God would give this type of promise to a woman back then. And God gives her the name Ishmael for her son, which means God hears. He says, Hagar, I have heard your affliction, and I'm giving you this name, Ishmael, so that every time you call your son, you will remember this promise. You will hold on to this promise about your situation and for the rest of your life. And Hagar's answer reflects the fact that this encounter was really a personal one, because she responded by naming God. She gave God a name. Most times in the Bible, it's God who is saying how we should call him. And this is one of the few times when somebody is giving God a name. So, and she names him Elroy, which means the God that sees me, and testifies to the personal experience that she just had God. So it's a way of saying, yes, he knows me, my name, he sees me, he's providing for me. And maybe even a way of saying, this Elroy is my proof that I have a relationship with this God that even Sarah does not have. So it was really huge. It was really huge. So she was marginalized, but out of this comes the most intimate relationship that she ever had, because until then no one called her by her name, no one was trying to promise her anything, no one was trying to give her a better life, and God steps in and does all that. But in chapter 21 we see that she forgets this blessing, because when Abraham sends her away again the second time, when Sarah catches Ishmael mocking Isaac, she's desperate in the wilderness, right? We see her sobbing again in the wilderness, and because now she's really a single mother without a man back then, and she's desperate, and she now has a teenage son, because in between the two chapters we see in between there somewhere that Ishmael at that time was about 13 years old. We didn't read that part, but he was about 13 years old. So now she has a teenage son, and we know how teenagers are. And she's on the street with no money, no man. She's thirsty, she's hungry. So she was probably despairing and crying like crazy. And God shows up again. And in chapter 21, verse 17, he asks her, Hagar, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Which is his way of saying, have you forgotten? I even gave you a name that you call every day, Ishmael, Ishmael, Ishmael. Does this mean nothing to you? Have you forgotten what I told you earlier? I've already solved this problem. Why are you despairing now? Do you think I will give you a promise and then cancel on it the next minute? Do you think I'm now gone blind when I told you that I'm the God who sees you? So she got this blessing, but at some point she forgot about it, and we see that God came and reminded her again of this blessing, and so Hagar, what can we say, is pretty interesting character. Starts off as a slave, is abused, is traumatized, gets sent off into the wilderness of all places, doesn't have anything, then meets God. And even the fact that Abraham sends her away the second time, not Sarah. The first time Sarah sent her away, we can say, okay, anyway, Sarah evil woman, selfish woman, yeah, it's only normal. But Abraham, she must have been like, but Abraham, you know this story. You know that you and I were forced into this situation. Why are you doing this? Like, you know, when you have that one person who is supposed to understand you, who is supposed to like know what really went down, and even this one person is turning their back on you, you're like, oh my goodness. So she must have really been alone, a single mom, no one to provide for her. But then she got a covenant blessing from God, and God came through. We can see that with the Arab tribes today. So that is Hagar. Now we go to the next slide where we look at some lessons from her life. The first one is the Lord is merciful to everyone, to the slave, to the patriarch, to the single mom, to the to everyone. It doesn't matter. To those who know him, to those who don't know him, he is merciful to everyone. The second lesson is that what we can learn from Hagar, we have to face our fears courageously. What about the fact she agreed to sleep with Abraham? She didn't have a choice, Anne-Marie. she was a slave. It was common practice back in the day. That's what I read in the commentaries, that it was common practice in the day. So she didn't really have a choice.
But maybe she had the choice, actually, Stephanie, because sleeping with Abraham was also meaning that her status will improve. But at the end of the day, what is important is that even giving all those mistakes, God, the Lord, was still merciful for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what would have happened if she didn't sleep with Abraham? Probably she would still have been sent away, right, for disobedience. So did she even? Yeah, I don't know.
No, you're right. I agree with you on that one, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So God is merciful. I mean, look at Hagar. She's getting pulled into a story that does not even concern her. How is the fact that Sarah is unable to give birth her problem? She gets put into this story, and now her life takes a whole new direction. And yeah, but God is merciful. He sees everyone. And based on this fact, we have to face our fears courageously because God is merciful. And if he can see Hagar, a slave woman who didn't even care about him, who after he made a covenant with her, still went to find an Egyptian wife for her son. She couldn't even think, oh, this God who was so nice to me, how can I honor him? No, she still went, if he can do this, what can he not do? So we need to, if out of his mercy he can be so generous, we need to learn to face our fears courageously and have faith in his promises also. Let's not forget his promises and despair, like we see in the story of Hagar. But hold on to his promises and have faith in them. And the one big takeaway is that intimacy with God brings comfort. When we are going through tough situations like we see in the case of Hagar, if we take time to seek God out, to seek intimacy with him, he will show up and he will address exactly what our problem is, and he will provide according to his riches in glory. Another point, remain humble in your blessings. This is addressing the point where it says that when she got pregnant, she started treating Sarah with contempt. That was not good. So when God blesses us, we need to remember that he's the source of this blessing, right? There's nothing that we did to earn these blessings. It's because of his grace, and we need to remain humble in these blessings. Also recognize when we are wrong. I suppose this was why the angel told her to go back to correct this, to correct this, because it's not like God will come now and disrespected your mistress and did all these bad things, and now he will just reward you for also just like that. Sometimes God wants us to correct our mistakes. So when she went back, she probably had to ask for forgiveness from Sarah, even though she was abused, even though she was traumatized, even though probably for the rest of her life she was going to suffer the consequences of this decision that Sarah made. But probably she had to apologize when she went back. So we need to learn to recognize when we are wrong. God has a plan for the unplanned. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think this speaks loud and clear. No, he did it. I mean, when we read what he told Abraham before, until then, nowhere did he tell Abraham, and you will take a slave, and you will have a child by a slave, and I will bless him. No, this was not his plan. But since they decided to take another route from his plan, he still made provision for the unplanned. And so God has a plan for the unplanned. Even when in our lives we go off the plan that God has, he has a plan for that unplanned path. And for that, we need to be teachable, right? Have a humble spirit, listen to him. He will show us the way. He will give us the word. He will be with us. So those are the lessons that we can take from Hagar's life. And now Christelle will take us into the second part.
Yes, thank you very much, Tiffany. Maybe before we go into the second part, ladies, do you have any comment? Do you have any point concerning those two chapters, Genesis chapter 16 and Genesis chapter 21? You want to share with us concerning the lessons from Agar's life? Maybe not just Agar, maybe also Abraham and Sarah. Is it anything you would like to share with us?
I would just like to say thank you guys so much for this. I've never looked at Hagar as a single mother before. I guess I never really even looked at her as a biblical figure to look up to, but you guys touched on such great points, and you made such good points about how the nation of Ishmael is still revered, and so is her name. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Maxine. So when we were reading this, there were two things that really struck my mind. The first thing was in Genesis chapter 16, we are still Abram and Sarai. Okay, so in chapter 16, we are still with Abram and Sarai. We are like, okay, maybe this is their old self. We can understand why they can do such thing like trying to force into God promises by themselves. But in chapter 21, it's no more Abraham and Sarai. It's Abraham and Sarah, meaning that their identity has been changed. They have received the promises. They have seen what God can do, but still they decided to chase away Agar. So it was really, I was like, okay, what can this mean? What do you think this can mean? This can mean actually. So Genesis chapter 16, we are still with Abraham and Sarai. It's the old man and women. Chapter 21 is the new man and woman, but they are going to show the same character actually. Okay, so if there is no other comments concerning those 2 points, maybe other points. I have a question. why Agar in the first place arrived in the picture? Can we just try to go back earlier in the story? When did Abraham and Sarah came to meet Agar for the first time? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
Should I
Samantha has her hand
comment,
raised,
or
but
does
she
anyone else
can't.
want to comment?
Samantha has her hand raised, but you guys can't see it, I don't think.
Okay. No, I wasn't looking.
Okay. Shalom to all the bride.
hello.
Well, they came across Agar because, well, I'm just gonna say the way I see it, right? So they had a promise from God. They knew they were going to have a child. So, well, they waited some months, and then never came. So they said, well, God gave us an intelligence. Let us try and see how we can get the result of that promise God gave us.
Yeah,
And they started searching.
exactly. How can we help God? We need help.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, Samantha. And we can even go back further again because it started when I'm going to say it in French and then I'll try to translate in English. Donc, ça commence quand il y a la famine et que Abraham décide de quitter le pays dans lequel Dieu lui a demandé de partir. Parce qu'il dit, ah, si je reste ici, c'est vrai que Dieu m'a dit de venir dans ce pays, mais si je reste ici, je vais mourir de famine, moi et mon peuple. Donc, le voilà qui prend tout son peuple pour partir en Égypte. So, it's more likely that they met Hagar when they first went in Egypt. Et ce n'est pas tout. Quand il arrive en Égypte, que dit Abraham à Sarah? Il dit, ah, tu es tellement jolie. On ne sait jamais où. On peut me tuer à cause de toi. Pardon, dis que tu es mon frère. So, first, we have the disobedience concerning the fact that he left the country God asked him to go. Number two, he decided to say his wife is not his wife, but his sisters. Donc, lui-même, il met sa femme dans les bras d'un autre. I don't really know which kind of couple is this. The man considered that it's okay if his wife can sleep with another man. And later on, his wife also considered that it's okay if the man can sleep with another woman. So I find it kind of weird. J'ai trouvé ça bizarre, if I can say so. And my conclusion is that all of this is the result of disobedience. Even if, yes, Lord was merciful and has, Stephanie said before, he has a plan for the unplanned. We can see throughout the story from the beginning the consequences of disobedience. The first was Abraham, the disobedience of Abraham, and then the one of Sarai, and then the one of Hagar. So all over the story, we can see that. But thank God, our God is so merciful that He does not give us what we deserve. Because if He will give us what we deserve, then maybe it will be death for all of us. So thank you, Lord, for your mercy. Okay, sorry, I cannot see what is in the chat. If there is no other comments, then I can go on to the next part.
Well, I wanted to like add to what you said. But is it well because it's very simple to say out of disobedience, but wasn't Sarah kind of afraid, maybe? Like afraid that well, God gave us a promise. And we all know, right? Like, well, men can do like babies anytime, any day. And this is me, like I know my age. Biologically, this is not possible. My eggs are maybe my I don't even have any eggs anymore, and I may be the issue here. Maybe I'm the one blocking God's promise, right? To to make it happen. So could it be that it was out of fear, out of logic, that she just thought like, okay, I may be the issue here. So let me help my husband fulfill the promises that he received. So she just wanted to like put herself outside of the promise and make it happen anyway. Not God's way, but make it happen anyway. Right. And yeah, and then that because how many times do we receive God promises and we want to make it happen anyway? What matters is the result. What matters most is the result. It does not matter how I make it, but the result matter anyway. Not thinking that, well, when he does a promise, there's kind of a transformation that he wants from us as well. Because maybe he was trying to teach Abraham and Sarah that guys should trust me anywho, anyhow. No matter where you are, no matter what happens, trust me. But she kind of failed the test because she wouldn't trust God anyhow. This is my take on that.
Yeah, thank you, Samantha. You're probably right. You're probably right. And we are actually, even me, myself, starting with me, I am so often guilty of the same thing. You know what God tells you, and then you say, okay, let me help him. Maybe he's going to go faster, even if I know he don't really need my help. So yeah, you're probably I agree with you on that part. Okay, if there is no other comments, we'll go to the next part, which is how does the single mom feels. I am going to give some let's say big points, but if anyone who goes to this situation feel at it and who is connected feel at ease sharing, of course she is more than welcome to do so. So the first feeling that most of us as single mom encounter is the one of loneliness, and we can see it here in the story of Hagar. Let's start by the emotional part. She's pregnant in the desert, and there is no one to whom she can make all her whims, caprice de femme enceinte. Oh, I want to eat dessert at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I want to do this at any time. So yeah, she's on her own. And she also have the huge way concerning the future of her child. What is it going to happen of my child? And then there is also the financial loneliness. Let us not forget that at that time, women were considered like weak, let's say, weak is not, I think weak is not the right word, but they needed protection in the society. And that's also why we can see so often a story where the husband died and then the woman became the wife of the brother of the husband, just to give protection to the woman. So here in this story, there is a woman in an area where when it's not like today, where women can work and do a lot of things and can care of themselves. And she's just there by herself. And we are also at an area where physical strength was so important. So emotional loneliness, but also financial loneliness. How will I be able to care for my son and for myself? In this financial part, in this loneliness, there is also the willing of the single mom to give the very best to her kids, and also to compensate the absence of the other parents. We do not want the child to miss any material things or even any emotional things that other two parents' kids do have. So we always want to give them the very best. And sometimes some of us can go to some extremity, like going into debt, to give the very, very best to the kids. On the financial aspect as well, it's not easy to take charge of any basic expenses with only one income. With two income, it's already difficult, but with one income, it's even more difficult if the other parent is not paying for childcare. So childcare in general, if you have childcare, then that's good. But most of cases, in many cases, the single mom do not have the benefits of childcare. Yeah. So that's the first one concerning the loneliness, the emotional loneliness, the financial loneliness of the single mom, and also some kind of the social loneliness, because there is really no anyone. There is no one to protect her. We have to be. How can I say it? In Africa, in general, being married or being with a man or being in relationship with a man, it's kind of a protection, or it's kind of considered like a higher status than being a single mother. Yeah. So there is also this social stigma, if I can say so. Then the second feeling is the fear and anxiety. This is something that many single moms have to deal with. The fear of what will I become? The fear of what will my children become? Especially when we understand all that we understand concerning single parent family. Yeah, kids from a single parent family, they have less chances in life than the one with two parent family. So there is so many things we are hearing concerning children who are not coming from a two parents family that goes into our head over and over and over and over. What will my children become? Financially, but also emotionally, because they do not have both their parents. And we go on again with another fear. What is going to happen if I'm not there? Of course, if the other parent is taking his own responsibility, then there is no problem. But if he's not, what's going to happen of them if I'm not there? Will I ever find a healthy relationship again? Will I find a spouse who respects my children? Will I find a good father for them? Will I succeed in co-parenting correctly with their dad? In the case the other parent is toxic to our children, can I get the exclusive custody? And if it's not the case, is it going to impact their character, the character and the development of the child? Will I ever be financially comfortable? Yeah, so all those questions are the question, let's say the feelings that single moms will go through. Okay. And then there is the rejection. Okay, we put it like that, the rejection. So if we come back to the case of Sarah and Abraham, the Bible does not mention anyone who came and defend her. Anyone stood against Sarah and Abraham and tell them, no, you cannot just send her away. So she was just by herself. There is also the fact that it's very difficult for us to find our place because in many cases we feel judged based on the circumstances in which we became single mother. Whether it's because we had a child out of wedlock, or because we had a divorce. Okay, I would say widow, it's kind of different, but in general, we have this stigma of the judgment considering the circumstances in which we became single mother. And let us also say it straight. So many married couples are afraid of single mom. Women will say, I don't want married women will have this idea that, okay, I don't want her to come close my husband. We never know she's a single mom. We never know if an affair can occur. And married men will say, I don't want her to give bad ideas to my wife. So yeah, there is this stigma and this kind of rejection that they have to deal with. Of course, there is guilt and shame because we already blame ourselves for the circumstances in which we became single mothers. We blame ourselves also for inflicting all of that to our children because we consider what we dream of when we were younger. It was a traditional family for our kids. So blaming ourselves for not giving them this opportunity. Sometimes also there is all this shame about not being able to manage the couple, the relationship that led to a separation or a divorce. There is also this shame or this guilt thinking that maybe if I prayed enough, if I fasted enough, if my relationship with God was deep enough, if I had the sacrificial love that Jesus showed in the Bible, maybe I will still be there because, of course, love. In French, we say l'amour supporte tout. So love bear everything. Maybe I didn't crucify my flesh enough. That's why that relationship didn't work. So yeah. And the last one is fatigue and exhaustion. Of course, there is the physical fatigue because there is no real traditional support and many things rest on her shoulder. She has to go to work. She has to take care of the kids. She has to do the laundry, the dishes, the cooking. She has to plan for the vacation. She has one hand, two hands, and have to think and do everything. And also there is the emotional fatigue to also have to manage all those things. And there is this idea that we feel we cannot do more or we cannot dream more than what we already have now because it may impact the future of our child. So we are more likely to take less risk, to less go out of our comfort zone for fear of impacting our children or adding another failure after failed relationship. So that is concerning how the single mom feel. I don't know if there is anyone who would like to add anything on it. Once again, I cannot see the comments in.
There is no comment.
There is no comment. Yeah.
Maybe also the. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I apologize. The fear of the impact of growing in a single parent home will have on their own children's development and families.
Yes.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm. You mean that you're kind of creating generational
Yes.
failure?
Yeah, being part of a generational dynamic, or even
Yes.
maybe perpetuating
Yes.
what was already a
Mhm.
generational dynamic,
Yes,
and the
definitely.
fear of the consequences of that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. If there is no other comments, I will go on to the next part. The God promises to the single mom. Okay. So the first promises is that He will take care of our children and provide financially. And we saw that we see that in Genesis chapter 16, when the angel of Jehovah said to Agar, "I will greatly multiply thy seed, that it shall not be numbered for multitude, for multitude." And what is funny is that these promises that was made to Agar, it's the same that was made to Abraham. Don't you don't you don't you consider it funny enough to see that Agar, the first time, if I was to read that I will greatly multiply that seed, that it shall not be numbered for multitude, it's not to Agar I will have think in the first place. I will have think of Abraham. But when you go through Genesis chapter 16 and verse number 10, what we see is that he's giving her the same promises. I will greatly multiply thy seed. I will provide for you and for your children. The second promise is that he will take care of the future of our children. And verse 12, it says, "And he shall be as wide as a mountain. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him." We were talking earlier about the fact that single mom fear all the stigma about their kids being raised in a single home, a single parent family. Maybe he's not going to do anything of his life because he grew into a single parent family. But when we read this verse, Genesis chapter 16, verse 12, he is telling us he will take care of the future of our children, and that we don't have to worry about that, and that we don't have to listen to what people, to what media, to what society is saying about the future of our children. Because basically, and that's the third promises, he loves our children more than we do. And before being our children, they are his children. So in Genesis 21, verse 17, it's written, "And the God had the voice of the youth." So basically, Hagar was crying, but Ishmael was crying also. But when the angel came, he didn't say, "Hagar, I heard you crying." He said, "I heard your son crying." So it's such a comfort for us to know that even if our kids do not really express the difficulty that they may encounter because growing in a single home family, still the God is listening to all their tears, to all their cries, the one we as their mom we sees, and the one we as their mom we do not see. He hears all of them, and he is acting upon all of them. And the third purpose is even when we will forget all his promises, he will come back and remind us of them. And that's what we see. In Genesis chapter 16, he already promises to Agar that he will greatly multiply her seed. In chapter 21, she's in the desert, she's thirsty, she's hungry, and she sees nothing but death for herself and her son. But she already had the promises, and she had the time to forget the promises. God is so merciful that He came back to remind her. Remember, I told you this. I came back again so that you can remember that I cannot forget you. And what I said, I will do. What I said, I will do. Wake up and walk, because you will not die, and your son will not die. So the next promises, so those three promises was directly in line with the chapter we just read, Genesis 16 and Genesis 21. But all of it in the Bible, there are other promises to the single mom. Yeah. So number one is you are not alone. You are not alone. Humanly speaking, you are not alone. There are other single moms just like you are. Maybe they are not in the same season as you are. Maybe today you are in the season where you're still grieving, you're still feeling a lot of anger, you're still feeling a lot of incomprehension. Maybe you are in a season where you are at peace. Maybe you are in a season where finally you had the restoration of your past relationship, or maybe not. Maybe you are just in a new relationship that is much more better. Maybe you had the opportunity to marry. It doesn't matter the season where you are, but you are not alone. There are already other single moms who are experiencing what you are experiencing today, or who experienced it in the past, who get through it and has been restored by the Lord. And what we can see in the Bible, it's the case of Elijah. In 1 King chapter 19, after defeating all the priests of Baal, he ran away saying, I'm alone and they want to kill me. He said, I've been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts. Basically, he's saying that he's the only one left and they want to destroy him. And later in that chapter, the God is telling him, no, you're not alone. It's not because you cannot see them around that you're alone. There are still 7,000 people here in Israel who are just like you, who has just decided that they are going to serve me and they are serving me. So humanly speaking, you are not alone. And spiritually as well, you are not alone. God is with you, and He's saying it again. He said, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Do not look around in terror, for I am your God. I will strengthen and harden you to difficulties. Yes, I will help you. Yes, I will hold you up and return you with my victorious right hand of rightness and justice. Number two, you are strong. Yeah. Even if you don't feel like you are strong, even if you feel like the load you are carrying it's too heavy, still you are carrying it. You are strong. And God said He will increase your strength. And He will increase your strength. And basically, if we go to Isaiah 40, verse 31, He's coming back to that verse where He said, young men shall feebly stumble and fall exhausted, but those who wait for the Lord, they will renew their strength and power. They shall lift their wings and mount up as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint or become tired. So the Lord is telling us He will increase our strength with the walk. We are going to walk, but we are not going to faint or become tired. Even if we cannot see it, even if we cannot feel it, this is the promises He is giving us. And the third one is that we are loved by Him and He will restore us. He will restore us, as He said in Romans chapter 8, Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Toutes choses concourent au bien de ceux qui aiment Dieu. He have a plan even for the unplanned, and He will turn all that was considered like mistakes or like errors for our better good. And last but not least, our children. This is a promise to all the single mom who consider themselves the only parents trying to instill faith to the child. Even the Lord is saying that our children are sanctified by the faith of the parents who knows God. So that was for the promises to the single mom. I don't know if anyone want to add something else or has any comments regarding this. Okay. That was it for all the promises. So the last point, maybe I would like to give I would like us to share if you have any other tips, advices for single mom.
I have a comment. I just want to say, as a single mother, this was really, really good. Because a lot of times it feels like we're so far out of the will of God, because of our circumstances. But I mean, even people who have had traditional kids a traditional way can still be out of the will of God, as we've seen in the story of Abraham and his wife. So it was very helpful to hear these words. Also, if it wasn't for a lot of people from churches when my child was young, helping me so much, inviting me to different events in their homes, and giving me the support that I didn't even know I needed, it was just really, really helpful to me. I now make sure that I am that for other people. So I've been a foster mom. I have raised, nieces and nephews when their mothers couldn't And I find myself trying to go above and beyond for the fatherless because that's what God wants us to do. And I would have not known how important it is if people were not there for me and how it made me feel.
Yeah, Nisi, thank you for sharing your story. For sure, it's very as you. So what I'm taking for what you just said is that single mom, don't stay alone. Reach out for help in your community. Um, Reach out for help with your friends, with your family, in your church. Basically, did I summarize it well, Nisi?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I think we can also say those who have a single mom in their entourage also reach out and find out how you can help.
Yeah, I think oftentimes we think because we are single moms we can't help. We're struggling, but I remember the widow who was able to feed Elijah, and God made a way for her to never run out of food, bread, her last meal to her. So we can always give help to someone. So I single women too.
Hey, ladies. Just wanted to add something very quick and talk about my experience. My elder daughter is 17 years old. And I had her while I was going to the university, and I used to bring